The Tonight Show interview was supposed to celebrate Chrissy Teigen's new cookbook and her return to television. She'd prepared to discuss family life, cooking with her kids, and the joy of motherhood. Chrissy sat in the blue chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She'd become known for her candid honesty on social media, but this was different territory. Tonight, she was about to share the darkest period of her motherhood journey. "You know, Jimmy," she began, her voice quieter than usual, "everyone expects motherhood to be this instant bond, this overwhelming love. But I need to tell you about the time I looked at my beautiful baby boy and felt absolutely nothing." Jimmy leaned forward, immediately recognizing the gravity of what she was about to share. His years of hosting had taught him when someone was preparing to reveal something deeply personal. "Tell me about that time," he said gently. Chrissy took a shaky breath, looking down at her wedding ring before meeting his eyes. "After Miles was born, I developed severe postpartum depression," she said simply. "But it wasn't just sadness, it was something much scarier." The studio audience grew completely silent, sensing they were about to witness something profound. The cameras stayed focused on her face as she gathered the courage to continue. "I was afraid I might hurt my own child." This was about 6 months after Miles' birth, Chrissy continued, her voice growing steadier with the telling. "I'd successfully hidden my depression from everyone, even John. I thought I was protecting them by pretending to be okay." Jimmy's expression showed deep concern as he listened. "What were you feeling during this time?" he asked softly. "I felt like a monster," she admitted, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Every time I looked at Miles, instead of love, I felt this terrifying emptiness. Like I was looking at a stranger's child." She paused, the weight of the confession clearly affecting her. The intrusive thoughts started around the same time. Horrible thoughts about what I might do to him if I couldn't control myself. "I remember one night, he was crying and wouldn't stop," Chrissy continued, her voice growing quieter. "I felt this rage building up inside me, and I was genuinely afraid of what I might do. So I put him in his crib and locked myself in the bathroom." Jimmy moved from behind his desk to sit closer to her, his gesture showing support. "What did your mom say to you?" he asked with genuine concern. "She saved my life that night," Chrissy said, her voice cracking with emotion. "She told me I wasn't crazy. I wasn't evil. I was sick, and sick people get help. She came over immediately, took Miles for the night, and made me promise to call a doctor the next morning," she continued through tears. "I don't know what would have happened if she hadn't taken him away from me." The studio was completely silent, except for the soft sounds of people in the audience getting emotional. "How did John react when you told him?" Jimmy asked. "He was heartbroken," Chrissy replied, wiping her eyes. "Not because I was struggling, but because I'd been suffering alone. He said he'd rather have a wife who was honest about her pain than one who was pretending to be perfect." "The guilt was overwhelming," she continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I felt like I was failing Luna too, because I couldn't give her the happy mom she deserved. I was barely functioning." Jimmy handed her a tissue from his desk. "What did getting help look like for you?" he asked. "Therapy, medication, and accepting that motherhood doesn't look the same for everyone," Chrissy said honestly. "I had to learn that postpartum depression isn't a character flaw or a sign of weakness. The psychiatrist explained that my brain chemistry had changed after giving birth," she continued. "That the intrusive thoughts were symptoms of illness, not predictions of who I really was. It took months before I felt that maternal bond with Miles," she admitted, fresh tears forming. "I had to fake it at first, going through the motions of loving him until the real feelings caught up." Jimmy reached over and squeezed her hand. "When did things start to change?" he asked. "About 8 months into treatment," Chrissy replied. "I was giving Miles a bath, and he looked up at me and smiled. For the first time, I felt genuine joy looking at him instead of fear. That night, I held him while he slept, and finally understood what everyone meant about unconditional love," she continued with a small smile through her tears. "It was like my heart had been frozen, and suddenly thawed. Jimmy turned to address the camera. What Chrissy is sharing is incredibly brave. Maternal mental health is something that affects countless women in silence. The thing is, Chrissy added, finding her voice as an advocate, we're so afraid to admit we're struggling because we think it makes us bad mothers. But the opposite is true. She looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this and you're having scary thoughts about your baby, if you're not feeling the bond everyone talks about, please know you're not alone and you're not broken. Admitting you need help doesn't make you a bad mother, she continued with fierce determination. It makes you a mother who loves her child enough to get better. Jimmy wiped his own eyes, clearly moved by her honesty. How has this experience changed how you talk to other mothers? He asked. I'm honest now, Chrissy said firmly. When friends have babies, I check in about their mental health, not just whether the baby is sleeping through the night. I tell them it's okay if they don't feel connected right away. It's okay if they're struggling, she continued. Because someone needed to tell me that, and no one did. Jimmy stood up and helped Chrissy to her feet. Chrissy Teigen, everyone, he announced. A mother brave enough to share the truth about the hardest parts of motherhood. The audience rose in thunderous applause, but this was different from typical entertainment applause. This was recognition of courage, of vulnerability, of someone breaking dangerous silence around maternal mental health. As the show ended, Jimmy kept his arm around Chrissy's shoulders. Thank you for trusting us with something so personal, he whispered. You just gave so many mothers permission to ask for help. 3 months later, Chrissy partnered with postpartum depression organizations to create support groups for mothers experiencing intrusive thoughts. Her advocacy helped break the stigma around complicated maternal feelings. The interview segment went viral within hours, shared by mental health professionals and mothers who recognized their own struggles in her words. Pediatricians began screening more carefully for postpartum depression after seeing the response. Chrissy received thousands of messages from mothers who said her honesty gave them courage to seek help. Several revealed they'd been hiding similar thoughts. Inspired by her bravery to call their doctors, John Legend publicly supported her decision to share their family's struggle, appearing on mental health podcasts to discuss supporting partners through postpartum depression. Their openness helped normalize therapy in celebrity culture. Jimmy continued featuring maternal mental health experts on his show, using Chrissy's story as a starting point for broader conversations. That interview changed how we approach parenting topics, he told her months later. Today, Chrissy speaks openly about maternal mental health during interviews and on her platforms. Her message resonates with mothers who see their own struggles reflected in her journey. The woman who once feared she might hurt her child became one of the loudest advocates for maternal mental health support. Sometimes the most powerful love stories are about learning to love when it doesn't come naturally. Her relationship with Miles, once clouded by fear and emptiness, is now filled with the deep connection she once thought impossible. Because healing maternal mental health doesn't just save mothers, it saves entire families. The bathroom floor where she once sobbed in despair is now where she gives Miles his nightly bath, filled with laughter and genuine joy. Sometimes the places of our deepest pain become the foundation for our greatest healing.